and I was going to rely pretty much solely on the Pixie Cam for all my navigation. I wasn't going to do odometry. In fact, the only distance that I measured to trigger the gripper, I wanted to make sure it was, the reading was less than 4 centimeters, and then it would close the gripper. And I knew I was close enough to the can to actually grab the can. So, I did the frame with Steel Tech, which is, it's like an erector set, so it looks like an erector set, or I guess an erector set with a rat's nest on it. And I went through several different configurations. So like looking at the front, it's just kind of a rectangular frame. I had the two wheels off to the side, and kind of up on a pedestal, I had the Pixie Cam, and I had one sonar here and a lower sonar here to detect the can. So this was, this was like 5 inches in between the two, so this one would shoot over the top. And the Pixie Cam was up here, and then off to the side, I actually had 2 other sonars facing this direction. Initially, these were, like if you look at the top view of the thing, these were back here, the 2 sonars. And I did that because the Pixie Cam had a pan and tilt. So I could, I had the option to pan the Pixie Cam kind of off of its mount here in the center. And I thought that would be, kind of a neat thing, or, just to have the option to be able to do it. And at one point when I was doing, I was trying to line myself up with the wall with the 2 sonars back here. And, if this is the wall, the thing would always end up like at 45 degree or close to 45 degrees, because that was actually the minimum distance from the wall with respect to where the wheels were, because it was actually rotating those 2 sensors around and back. And so then I decided to put the 2 sonars up front and on the Pixie Cam, and all of that was in line with the axis of the wheels. So and that actually, for navigation, it actually worked out much better, because I didn't have to worry about these offsets and weird situations where I actually wrote a little algorithm to say, okay, I want to minimize this distance. Well, it would, but it wasn't perpendicular to the wall. I did set up a course. It's a great idea. It's like up and down. Make a little change, set the thing down, see what happens. And like I said, I was relying solely on the Pixie Cam to find the cans. And in my office where I had the course set up, I guess I had pretty unique lighting conditions, because it was working fine. I had it would find the cans, and it would do. It would basically try to put the can in the center. So kind of like what Doug said. If the can was off, I could figure out which angle that was, and I would use that as a like a proportionality constant to change the relative speed of the 2 motors. So if it was off to the right, I'd spin the left wheel faster and basically zero in on it, and it grabbed the cans fine. To find the goal, what I did is initially I took 2 laser pointers, and it's this like a multi-function survival tool. It's like a whistle, a thermometer, a compass, and it had a little magnifying lens on it. Well, it had the right magnification to, if I stuck it in front of the laser pointer, to spread the beam out. And initially what I did is I had 2 of these on 2, they're old light stands for photography, and I pointed them on the the 2 areas on either side. So I had, I was looking for orange to find cans and red to find the lasers.
So these are not mounted on the robot. They're like your beacons.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I never had to figure out, even if I got bumped, you know, I always knew where
Yeah.
the two kind of defocused laser pointer spots were. And, you know, it wasn't so bright that it, you know, I thought, well, okay, people are going to complain because I'm using lasers or something, but
Did you pulse them or anything?
no, they were just on continuously. And that worked pretty good, but occasionally it would just, you know, what I did is I'd make sure I had, you know, I try to find two, and I just take the, you know, the average X between the two and try to find the goal that way. And that worked pretty good, but occasionally it would towards the goal. And what would happen is, you know, I was just looking for a shorter distance than the two. You know, two combined would be like 7 feet. And I was just looking for, you know, something less than 7 feet. I forget what it was, but it was, you know, basically, it should have triggered it. And what was happening is, as it was passing through, it would see like this one first and then this one second, and just keep right on going through the thing. And when I talked to you, you said, okay, one of the things you could have done, which is a great idea, you could have used one of those little sonar things, pointed it straight up, and looked for the goalpost. But I only had, you know, the Black Friday Palulu sale. I only had two of the things. So I just said, okay, well, I'm going to mount a little switch, glue a tie wrap to it, and that was my cheap sensor. So every time it would go through, it kind of, you know, hit the switch and know where I was. So, and I actually looked at doing the side-looking Ramba. I don't know which sensor or emitter. Beacon, I guess, is probably the best description. But you know, the switch was the simplest thing. You know, you know, there was no issues with interference or light, or, you know, it was just a switch. So so that's working really good now. And anyway, so Jason and I took our robots to Mike's hobby shop, and Mike's hobby shop has these like industrial, really bright lights, you know, to light up his courses and stuff. And the thing just totally, you know, lost the lasers, couldn't find it at all. And the goalpost was only 3/4 of an inch. So now I had this little, you know, my board was actually 2 inches because that's what I had. And it found it, you know, like I said, every time. And when I got there, it's like, you know, it's like I had the things turned off. It wasn't finding it at all. So I was like, oh God, I'm sunk. So then
probably not to interrupt, but you could have probably made a request. I don't think anybody would have said you couldn't put a piece of paper tag up on there.
Well, no, you weren't supposed to modify it in any way, right?
Oh.
Yeah, you said no. So
I would think that would be a judge.
The next
Use the jet.
the bicycle reflector.
Bicycle reflector. Oh, just tack it on that.
And as far as you can put something on the goal, let's put it.
Oh yeah, yep.
How about an IR beacon?
So, you know, I didn't, you know, I had no odometry at all set up. You know, all my routines were based on the Pixie Cam and looking for the two things. So I tried to incorporate a compass in it later on, so I could at least figure out, okay, orientation-wise, you know, where to go. And one of the other things that I tried to do is I tried to find the opening, but it was just very inconsistent. I had you know, the 3 sonar sensors on it, and I would scan, I think it was like 120 degrees to get pretty much the full field of view. I think it was, or maybe it was less than that. Just, you know, each one would scan like 1/3 of the, you know, the field of view. And I think it was just when I said these were probably 60 degrees each. And it was just very inconsistent. And then, you know, at that point, you know, again, there wasn't enough time. So, you know, I was like, okay, well, is it noise? Is it multiple reflections? And so I got rid of the 2 side sonar sensors and put I had 2 infrared sensors from the, you know, Black Friday Palulu sale. And those were better, but I still had the, you know, before I put the, you know, I call it my head switch on the thing, it still would go through the goal a lot of times because the beams are very narrow, and it would, you know, see one side and then the other side and just pass right through. But as, you know, as far as odometry and figuring out, where I was on the goal, I hadn't done any of that stuff. So then, it would still find the cans at this point, it would find the goal fine. So I had to try to incorporate odometry into it to try to figure out where it was. And what my approach was to use the two IR sensors to figure out where I was and to try to seek the center position, the center line, just get into an area kind of like a deadband that I could kind of bounce back and forth between to get the robot to the goal, since I couldn't use lights or the lasers anymore. And that would work a lot of the time, but sometimes it would come off at an angle here and go perpendicular to the goal. And if the cans were too tight in here, it wouldn't have enough time to correct to get to the center of the goal, and it would go perpendicular. So, I just didn't have enough time to correct for that, and I figured, okay, well, I'm not going to embarrass myself and drag this thing there and have it do all these, stupid things, so I didn't enter my robot.
Too bad.
Too bad. I probably should have, because the lighting conditions look pretty good. After that, so I decided, okay, well, I can't, lasers weren't going to work. So I went to Walmart's and I got a poster board. They have all these fluorescent colors, fluorescent green and blue and anything to distinguish it from the can, which was orange. So I cut two big squares of it and used my, these two things and just taped them on the back of clothes hangers and set them on the sides of the goal over here, and moved the whole course to the dining room, which had really horrible lighting conditions, light coming in from both directions. It would find those some of the time. The next thing that I'd like to try is make one of these, fluorescent green and the other one fluorescent blue, just out of poster board, because what it would do is it would find, again, like two blocks of green, and it would go towards that one and not find both of them. So, I'm hoping at this point it may be able to distinguish, okay, I want just one block of blue, one block of green, go between the two.
So blue is all should be to the right of green.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a problem. I want to do the same thing, except I want blue on the left and green on the right.
Well, hey.
I think we might have to address that.
Well,
issue.
these are flags that you could add, so you could, you could switch them.
It just has to
But I
run
mean, as
upside
far
down.
as two people running, what are we going to do if more and more people show up with these camera type of navigation?
Oh, yeah, because on
We
YouTube
might
you
need to
have
find a way to make it. I think we'll
I'm
have
wondering
to-
if somebody's gonna walk around with an arm that tries to get you to think you're in the goal.
We're gonna mark up the
our mode is-
Oh, your little switch on that.
At one point, wherever it's aiming, if you're looking for throwing the other one off.
See, that's another thing to do. And that's actually a thing that you can do with the Pixie Cam. If you and I didn't experiment with it, but if you have Pixie Cam here and you have a defocused laser shooting off at an angle in front of this thing, the distance where the dot shines,
Right.
on in your field of view is proportional to the distance. So yeah, you could have a pretty good, it's those little laser pointer lasers are like, I don't know, a couple bucks each or something.
Yeah, Clay Timmons, a past DPRG president, had a video robot that had laser pointers, and he was doing.
Oh, he was doing
doing
it?
distance sensing and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
that's
the
pretty cool.
modules are actually pretty small. There's actually one mounted on the front.
Yeah,
That
they're
thing
teeny.
right there,
Yeah.
which I just used to.
Yeah.
I just used to see where the robot's pointing.
For alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's maybe half an inch long or something.
But it's kind of like the old Monty Python. It's just a flesh wound. Not dead yet.
I figure Ray would use laser pointers, like, has his name had any impact?
Ray, yeah, laser.
I knew a Don Kite, guess what he was? An airline pilot.
There you go.
Ray, we missed one small piece because of we ran out of tape.
Oh,
And one question I had to ask, you were, at the time, you were saying, well, you had the 2D focused laser dots and they didn't work, and then you did something else. What was it?
oh, I went to just one and focused on
One.
the center of the goal. Because it wouldn't find, occasionally it wouldn't find both of them to go between the two. So I just eliminated one. And
So did it like flash on the ground?
No, I shined it on the
crossbar.
crossbar.
On the crossbar?
On the wide
Okay.
2-inch crossbar, but when you got your narrow 3/4 inch crossbar.
3/4, it didn't work.
You couldn't see it anymore.
Okay, all right,
So,
all right, thank you.
sure.
So you're gonna